I am sitting in my car right now, parked outside my parents' house in Ohio. Through the windshield, I can see the warm glow of lights from inside, hear the faint sound of laughter. Tonight is my father's 70th birthday party. 30 people are waiting in there. My brother, my sister, aunts, uncles, cousins, and me, the invisible child. In my vest pocket there is a folded piece of paper, a document that will change everything. 30 years of being called a failure ends tonight. Before I walk through that door with you, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and stay with me, because what happened next taught me that sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest truths. Let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in a middle-class family in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio. My father, Gerald, was a mechanical engineer who spent 35 years at the same company before retiring. He was a man who measured success in titles, salaries, and how impressed the neighbors were. My mother, Linda, was a homemaker who poured all her love and attention into her children. Well, 2 of them anyway. My older brother, Kevin, came first. 4 years older than me, he was everything my father wanted in a son. Captain of the baseball team, class president, graduated top of his class from law school. Now he is a partner at a prestigious firm downtown, drives a Mercedes, lives in a house with 6 bedrooms. Kevin is the golden child, the one whose photos hang in the living room, whose achievements get mentioned at every family gathering. Then there is my younger sister, Stephanie. 3 years younger than me, she inherited my mother's charm and my father's ambition. Straight-A student, prom queen, medical school graduate. Now she runs her own pediatric clinic, married a surgeon, has 2 beautiful children. Stephanie is the princess, the one who can do no wrong, the one my mother brags about to everyone at church. And then there is me, Alan, the middle child, the one who works in IT, whatever that means to them, the one they never quite understood, the one they stopped trying to understand a long time ago. I remember the day I first realized I was invisible to my own family. I was 8 years old. There was a science fair at my elementary school, and I had spent 3 weeks building a model of the solar system. Not just any model. I had rigged it so the planets actually rotated around the sun, using a small motor I salvaged from an old toy. My teacher was amazed. The judges were impressed. I won first place. I remember standing on that stage, holding my trophy, scanning the audience for my parents' faces. They were not there. They had gone to watch Kevin play in a baseball tournament 2 towns over. Nobody told me they would not be coming. Nobody thought to mention it. I walked home alone that day, carrying my trophy in both hands. When I got home, the house was empty. I placed the trophy on the kitchen table and sat there waiting. It was dark by the time they came home, all of them laughing about Kevin's home run. My mother made dinner. My father watched the news. Nobody asked about the science fair. That trophy sat on the kitchen table for 3 weeks. 3 weeks before my mother finally picked it up one day and asked, "Where did this come from?" That was when I learned the truth. In this family, some children are seen, and some children are invisible. I was the invisible one. Growing up, I heard certain phrases so often they became background noise. Alan, who do you take after in this family? Kevin is so sharp, Stephanie is so beautiful, but you. Let Kevin speak. Alan, you would not understand. What is it you do at your job again? Fix computers. Every holiday, every birthday, every family gathering was the same. My father would spend hours talking to Kevin about his cases, his clients, his victories in court. My mother would fuss over Stephanie, complimenting her clothes, her hair, asking about the grandchildren. And I would sit there eating my food, answering questions that nobody really wanted answers to. When Kevin graduated from law school, my parents threw him a party with 50 guests. They rented a banquet hall. There was a live band. My father gave a speech that brought people to tears. When Stephanie graduated from medical school, they threw her a party with 40 guests. They decorated the backyard with fairy lights. My mother made a scrapbook of her entire educational journey. When I graduated from college with a degree in computer science, we had dinner at home, just the 5 of us. My mother made lasagna. My father asked if I had started looking for a real job yet. That was my celebration. When Kevin bought his first house, my parents gave him $80,000 for the down payment. When Stephanie bought hers, they gave her $60,000. When I mentioned I was thinking about buying a small apartment, my father said, "You are single. Why do you need a place? Just keep renting." I never argued, never complained. I just kept showing up. Every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every birthday, I still bought gifts for everyone. I still arrived early to help set up and stayed late to help clean. I still fixed every broken appliance, every computer problem, every technical issue anyone in the family had. I kept hoping that one day they would see me, that one day I would do something that would make them look at me the way they looked at Kevin and Stephanie, that one day I would matter. But hope is a strange thing. It keeps you going, but it also keeps you trapped, and I stayed trapped in that hope for far too long. The turning point came 10 years ago when I was 25 years old. It was Christmas Eve. The whole family was gathered at my parents' house, along with aunts, uncles, cousins, the usual crowd. Everyone was in the living room, drinks in hand, sharing stories and laughter. At some point, the conversation turned to careers and success, as it always did. My father stood up, glass of wine in hand, and made an announcement. He said, "I am so proud of my children. Kevin just made partner at his firm. Stephanie just opened her own clinic. These two are really making a name for our family." Then he paused, looked at me and added, "And Alan is still figuring things out. But that is okay. Not everyone is meant to lead." Everyone laughed. Not a mean laugh, just a casual, dismissive chuckle. The kind that says, "Oh well, what can you do?" My mother patted my arm sympathetically. Kevin smirked. Stephanie looked away uncomfortably. I sat there, face burning, unable to say a word. What could I say? In their eyes, I was exactly what they said I was. A failure. A disappointment. The one who did not make it. That night I drove back to my small one-bedroom apartment in silence. No music, no radio, just the sound of the engine and my own thoughts. And somewhere on that dark highway, something shifted inside me. I made a decision. I would stop seeking their approval. I would stop waiting to be seen. I would build my own success, my own wealth, my own empire. And I would do it in complete silence. They did not need to know. They did not deserve to know. Not until I was ready. From that night forward, I began a different journey. I started reading everything I could about investing. Books, articles, forums, podcasts. I learned about index funds, compound interest asset allocation. I studied the stock market until charts and numbers made sense to me. I researched real estate until I understood cap rates and cash flow. And I started saving. Not just a little. Everything. I kept my same small apartment even when I could afford better. I kept driving my 2008 Honda Civic even when the air conditioning stopped working. I bought clothes at thrift stores. I packed my lunch every single day. I cut every expense I could cut. And every month I invested 70% of my income. The first year, I could only invest $500 a month. It felt small, almost pointless, but I kept going. The second year I got promoted to senior developer at my company. My salary increased significantly. I started investing $2,000 a month. By the third year I had saved enough for a down payment on a small duplex on the outskirts of the city. I bought it, lived in one unit, and rented out the other. The rental income covered most of my mortgage. I was essentially living for free. Years 4 and 5, I bought 2 more rental properties. Small, unglamorous buildings in working-class neighborhoods. Nothing fancy, but they generated steady cash flow every single month. In year 6, I started a side project, a software application for personal finance management. I built it in my spare time, nights and weekends, using skills I had developed at my day job. I launched it quietly, expecting nothing, but people found it. Users grew. Revenue followed. By year 7, a larger tech company approached me about acquiring my application. I negotiated for months. In year 8, the deal closed. I received $3.5 million. I did not tell anyone. Not my parents, not my siblings, not even my closest friends. I deposited the money, reinvested most of it, and continued living exactly as I had before. Small apartment, old car. Thrift store clothes. When I visited my parents, nothing had changed. I still showed up in my old Civic. I still wore the same plain shirts. When they asked about work, I said the same thing I always said. It is fine. Still coding. Same old stuff. They had no idea. Nobody did. Meanwhile, Kevin bought a mansion in the suburbs. 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 3-car garage. My parents threw him a housewarming party. My father walked through the rooms, beaming with pride, telling everyone this is what success looks like. Stephanie opened her own clinic, expanded it twice, hired a team of nurses and doctors. My mother cried at the ribbon-cutting ceremony, told everyone my daughter is saving lives. And me, I sat at those celebrations, smiled, clapped, congratulated them, and said nothing about the $12 million sitting in my accounts. 3 years ago, at Thanksgiving dinner, my aunt asked my mother loudly enough for everyone to hear, "So, has Alan found a girlfriend yet, or is he still alone?" The whole table laughed. I laughed too, because what else could I do? 2 years ago, Stephanie offered to help me go back to school, get a better degree, maybe find a real career. She said it kindly, but the message was clear. I was the family project, the one who needed saving. 1 year ago at Christmas, my father took me aside and said, "Look, son, I know things have not worked out for you the way we hoped, but it is not too late. You are still young enough to turn things around." I thanked him. I said I would think about it, and I drove home to my apartment where the monthly statements from my investment accounts were waiting in my mailbox. $12 million. And counting. But still I said nothing. I was waiting, for what I was not entirely sure. Maybe for the right moment. Maybe for a sign. Maybe for one final push that would make me ready to speak. That push came on my father's 70th birthday. The party was in full swing when I arrived. My parents' house was decorated with balloons and streamers. A banner hung across the living room that read, "Happy 70th birthday, Gerald." About 30 people filled the rooms, holding drinks, eating appetizers, laughing, and catching up. Kevin arrived in his new Mercedes, a sleek black model that probably cost more than most people make in a year. He walked in like he owned the place, designer suit, perfectly tailored hair, perfectly styled. Within minutes, he was the center of attention, telling everyone about the big case he had just won. Stephanie came with her husband, Richard, the surgeon, and their 2 adorable children. They looked like a family from a magazine cover. My mother immediately rushed to embrace them, showering the kids with kisses, complimenting Stephanie on her dress, her hair, her everything. I walked in quietly alone, wearing a simple navy blue vest and khaki pants. I had driven my 2008 Civic, parked it at the end of the driveway where nobody would notice it. A few relatives nodded at me. My mother gave me a quick hug and immediately returned to fussing over Stephanie's children. Dinner was served buffet style.